Biddy, settle in gently tonight as we wander into the shadowed realm of medieval bread, not the fleeting slices of today that soften and yield at a whisper of wind, but the loaves of long ago, dense with earth's quiet strength, brimming with deep nourishment, honest enough to serve as both hearth companion and quiet defender. Dim the lights now. Let a soft fan hum like distant rain on ancient stone, and drift with me into this peaceful unfolding, to sense the true heart of why medieval bread stood as a steadfast source of vitality. Hold this simple truth close. People then did not just eat their bread. They lived alongside it in bonds as enduring as the turning year. Bread was never only food. It formed their very being. Travel back through veils of time. Ask a peasant by their low fire what meal they cherished most. The words come soft. Bread. Inquire of the one that burdened them. The echo returns the same. Bread, but grown a little stale. This steadfast loaf filled as much as 70% of a peasant's daily warmth, their calories drawn deep from its core. In our hurried age, such devotion might seem a silent call for change. Back then, it simply marked the flow of days. Breakfast was bread. Lunch brought more to the table. Dinner saw it dipped in something faintly fluid, perhaps a thin broth, or water worn thin from its endless toil. Dessert lingered as a smaller piece, one you'd ease yourself into believing was set apart, yet no shadow of sadness fell here. Medieval bread carried a profound grace. Weighty and complete, laden with the gifts of field and mill, solid enough to claim its place as both meal and measure of resolve. A single loaf could sustain a farmer from the pale dawn. Through the steady pull of the plow, the gentle care of livestock, the weaving of fresh thatch atop sagging roofs, a long trek of 10 miles upward through snow-veiled paths, and a watchful stand against a wanderer like Ulrich, the one who slipped away with sheep under cover of dusk. Modern bread struggles to carry you through a handful of messages, but theirs touched every layer of life. Peasants broke it in the furrows, nobles savored it in vaulted halls, monks shared it during hushed chants, their minds wandering briefly toward the comfort of ale. Soldiers gripped hardtack, bread forged to endure the clamor of war, the rush of floods, perhaps even the fall of a wandering star. Loaves differed in their form, of course. Nobles knew soft whites, light as gathered mist, akin to the veiled pastries of their time. Peasants met bread, pressed dense, defying the easy rise of air. Yet from cloud's faint breath to earth's firm grasp, bread wove through every moment. In this we've lay a quiet miracle. They shaped a superfood without knowing its name. No learned voices spoke of the body's inner gardens. No guides whispered of harmony within. Their questions stayed rooted in the soil. Would this sustain through winter's long clasp? Travel the shadowed roads unharmed, nourish without a kinsman's raised brow. Bread offered its calm yes to each. It rested secure in dim corners, moved lightly over distant miles, withstood hasty hands, and turned against you rarely with hidden peril, a gentle victory amid the era's trials. Meats that soured in the chill, vegetables roused but once in the cycle of sun, waters that carried threats in their flow. Bread became the loyal presence all turned to. More than sustenance, it was the thread of endurance. The craft of foresight, medieval existence itself, warmed in every crust. To uncover its hidden vigor, turn your gaze to the flour that gave it birth, not the fine pale dust of today's shelves. So refined it seems to drift without weight. Medieval flour rose from the patient kiss of stone on stone, rugged and whole, unyielding in its richness. It did not merely fill the loaf, it lived within it. The grinding joined all parts in union, the brand's tough shield, the germ's warm spark, the endosperm's steady heart, minerals drawn from deep earth, and whatever traces the millstone chose to blend. From this came a flour alive with vitamins, with fibers to ease the inner ways, with natural oils from sun-kissed fields. Those who study bodies now might stand in quiet awe, while voices of fleeting trends would shape it into vials of lofty price. Modern flour pails in comparison, stripped to its hollow frame, bleached to fragile light, then patched with faint echoes of what fled, and declared renewed with pride, like setting a home to flame. Then, boasting of a single latch, made whole. Stone mills knew no such parting. They took the grain entire, no choice in the matter. Thus medieval bread held fibers for a smooth passage, iron to strengthen the river of blood, magnesium for the quiet work of muscle, zinc to guard against unseen shadows, healthy fats to feed the lasting flame, and faint grains of stone dust for the mark of true earth. Yes, traces of the mill's own gift mingled in each bite. Bonus minerals, a subtle crunch like a secret shared, daddy's value, pure and deep, whole as the grain from which it sprang. This bread sated fully, not for the span of a passing whim, but until the sun dipped low, until a neighbor sought your aid with the heavy ox. Those who labored in the fields endured long hours under open sky, fueled by true, even energy, spared the wild tides of modern sweetness that rise and crash unchecked. That stone-ground flour carried taste as well, deep as fresh-turned soil, earthy notes laced with nut, an ancient savor that seemed a murmur of eras before maps were drawn. Modern flour offers only faint regret. By contrast, coarse, yes, gritty to the patient jaw, testing enough to earn a quiet murmur of protest. But real it was, nourishing through and through. One key reason medieval bread could stand tall against the hollow puffs of knout. If modern bread stirs a faint unrest within, a soft complaint from your depths, rest easy. The fault lies not with you. It rests with the wheat. Today's grains have been shaped relentlessly, bred across lines, hybridized for reach, urged on like athletes, honed for endless trials. They swell swift and vast, crying out for notice in their fluff, while the inner self pauses, wary. What stranger enters here unbidden? Medieval folk knew no such turmoil. Their wheat stood ancient, calm in its ways. Einkornemer, spelt. These were the quiet guardians of the age. Grains so rooted in time they might greet you with gentle words like my child, lowering gluten's firm hold, richer in veiled gifts, free of sudden shifts. They rose without drama, held steady without whim, like the companion who arrives as promised, bearing no storms in their wake. These grains brought no swell of discomfort, no veil of weariness, no quiet doubt after the first taste. Modern wheat bends to one call alone: abundance, vast harvests, vast loaves filled with air, vast echoes in the body. After gluten thick as a whole feast in Renaissance glow, old souls would gaze upon a shelf of sandwiches today and wonder softly why this forum puffed with vapor and empty promise. Those ancient grains took hold in soils without pity, rocky expanses, unforgiving ground that forged true spine. Literal resilience in every stalk. Modern wheat falters without perfect waters, flawless skies. Medieval wheat claimed any patch, stubborn as deep roots, bound by unyielding purpose. Baked into loaves, they offered character, heavy, hardy, full of life's quiet wealth, dense enough to serve as watchful sentinel if cast with care. Not slices light as dream clouds, but bricks of enduring might, whispering to the frame, rest in this strength. On such bread they flourished, their inner worlds at peace, their forms alive with purpose. Their teeth, though tested, learned its ways in time. Modern loaves drained the light slowly. Medieval bread kindled readiness for wrestling a wayward goat, turning the deep furrow, and still finding breath to voice thoughts on the tax collector's toll. If you have ever shared with quiet pride, I tend sourdough now. Know this, you walk the path they carved from need alone. No walls of images to inspire, no boards of fleeting counsel. Medieval bakers turned to sourdough not for rustic charm or crafted name. It was the only path open. No swift yeasts waited in no dry dreams lined the market stalls like packets of promised ease. Instead, they trusted Wild Rising, a gentle name for nature's steady hand at work, hoping the unseen forces aligned that day. Within every tended starter dwelled a hidden gathering. Wild yeasts roaming free, lactic beside them, the first true allies of the gut. Long before dawn, capsules flavored like curd promised aid. These tiny lives, fed on flour and water, grew like tailies shared in a close village hall, turned simple dough into breath itself. Bubbling, alive, ready for the oven's warm hold. This slow, natural rising wove a quiet wonder, a transformation of the everyday alchemy veiled. As patient labored, as the dough rested there, hour after hour, or through the quiet veil of night, those unseen microbes stirred gently to life. They softened the gluten's firm hold, eased away any sharp bitterness, bound up the phytic acid that might hold back the earth's gifts, and unlocks the nutrients, making them ready for the body. In the simplest way, they carried the weight of digestion long before the loaf met your lips. All that remained was the slow chew of it, mindful of teeth, tempered by time. Picture modern bread by contrast. It swells in a hurried 45 minutes, swollen with yeasts that hasten like relentless gatherers of coin. No pause for breath, no gentle tending by friendly kin in the flour, no bacterial allies to smooth the way, just haste, ease, and the soft echoes of unrest that follow when all rushes unchecked, much like hasty fare that stirs the mind as well as the frame. Medieval sourdough offered more than mercy to the belly. It nourished it truly. Those bacteria wove lactic acid, lending a faint, lingering temps, a natural guardian against time's decay. So their loaves held firm for days. Unlike the slices of today that fade swift as a fleeting vow, growing stale before the morrow dawns. Even deeper, this patient rising birthed flavors, rich and layered. Earthy depths, a subtle sour note, a warmth that settled deep in the soul. Like breadkin to an elder monk, wise with tailies from shadowed cloisters, who might lift a quiet sip from the cellars now and then. Wild Rising shaped each village's own mark too. Local airs and soils whispered into every crust. Your bread carried the taste of home, of fields and hearths you knew by name. They knew nothing of probiotics by that word. Those medieval souls, yet they welcomed them daily, woven into the loaf itself. No bright wrappers, no voices urging wellness amid dawn stretches. Their bread breathed with life, and their inner worlds gave quiet thanks. If modern bread has ever left your depths feeling like a fortress under quiet siege, the reason rests plain. Today's dough scarcely stirs awake before the oven claims it, rising in under an hour, at times mere 20 minutes. This bears no mark of true rising. It is bred in fleeting haste, like study crammed before the scribe's call, hoping questions stay kind. Medieval dough claimed time as its ally. Long, unhurried spans, 8 hours, 12, sometimes 20, in bubbling rest, in patient watch, pondering the quiet weave of days. No rush shadowed this bread. It was dew, touched by deeper awakening. The hidden ways of it, unknown to them yet felt in every bite, hold their own gentle beauty. Through those slow hours, enzymes of nature and bacterial friends broke gluten to kinder forms. They tamed unruly sugars, those fruitins that trouble modern frames. Phytic acid, the silent blocker of minerals, faded into calm. The dough grew ever more yielding, more giving of its wealth, less prone to stir shadows within. In truth, medieval bread arrived, half digested already, not in strangeness, but in grace. A kindness where the belly needed little labor. By the time it reached your core, it seemed to murmur softly, "Ease now. The work is done." Modern loaves speak otherwise. They glance at your inner halls and whisper, "Fare as you may," then vanish into heat. You can almost feel the difference in those who broke such bread. Medieval peasants did not linger, hands pressed to bellies after the meal. No searching scrolls for woes of gluten, no quiet debates by candled flame over loaves, risen wild or freed of their bonds. They ate, then turned back to the furrow's call. 2. Lifting bales of hay. 2 days stretching, 12 hours under open skies, without dramatic fall-like figures in old tailies of misted halls. That long tending deepened the savor, too. Medieval bread held layers, sour whispers, nutty earth, profound as roots holding through frost, the kind of loaf that draws you near, meets your gaze steady, and unfolds the whisper of how it endured the bitter winter of some long-ago year, 1400 and something. Modern bread drifts light as breath, soft, with sweetness that lingers oddly. And here lies a deeper grace. That patient rising preserved the loaf naturally. Fresh for days, weeks if set to dry in quiet air. No need for watchers against decay, no added wards or whispers from the healer's art. Medieval bread stood as more than fair, a balance wrought by earth and time. Good kind through chance and steady hand. If medieval bread flowed like a letter penned, slowed by firelight, thoughtful and true, modern bread arrives as a hurried note, shaped by unseen hands, with corrections half applied, swift, ever near, yet laced with quiet doubt. The heart of difference between medieval and modern lies in one steady truth. Today's bread wears the guise of wholesomeness over haste, like fast fare cloaked for a festival. Begin with the rising, or rather, its fleeting shadow. Industrial loaves do not truly ferment. They hasten. Mills employ yeast swift as winds, swelling dough in moments brief, much like vows swelled in halls of power before the harvest call, while medieval dough lingered in monk-like calm, all day in silent watch. Modern gains scarce 15 minutes before the fire cries out. This yields fluff, true, but fluff born of shortcuts, like a bed of gathered froth, pleasing at first touch, until the frame protests the lack of true hold. Then come the unseen allies, medieval hands joined but 3. Flour from the stone, water from the well, salt from distant earth. Modern makers gaze upon that and smile faint, then weave in 27 more, without cause, named emulsifiers to bind, softeners to yield, bleaches for pale gleam, sweeteners for hidden pull, stabilizers to hold form, all gathered like counsel in the loaf's quiet heart. Today's bread emerges not from oven alone. It is shaped in vast hulls, bearing the mark of craft that claims bread's name, yet whispers of woven air. Think on its lasting vigil. Medieval loaves, soft in days, true to their form. Modern ones abide untouched a week. A moon, perhaps, till Isa's return from old tailies, unchanged in youthful guise. This is no bread. It is earth's patient trial, brought to quiet bloom. If peasants of old glimpsed sliced loaves on your hearthboard, ever fresh after weeks, they would murmur of shadowed arts. Even the flower strays far from its roots. Refined whites, stripped of fibers, weave of nutrients, hidden fire of earth's own voice. Make us mend it with echoes forged in fire, hoping the lack stays veiled, like lifting purse from belt, then offering a token in its stead, and the sugars veiled within. Modern bread carries sweetness unbidden, as if coaxing the frame to dream of sweets. Bakers of old would taste and pause, weedies int, off in the midst of craft. When all threads join, the haste, the bindings, the sweetened veil, the yielding softness not of earth, you hold something akin to bread, yet it moves more like a quiet stranger in familiar form. Modern bread fills the hollow. Medieval bread kindled the whole of being. One deep joy in tracing those old loaves lies here. They held just 3 gifts: flour, water, salt, nothing more. No hidden scrolls, no trial of elements, no warnings etched for hidden woes, for binders or softeners, or shades born in forbidden forges. Medieval hands kept to this path from scant choice, and the loaves bloomed richer for it. Turn now to a market loaf of today. Lift it. Read the words beneath. Not a simple tally, but a flowing tale of shadows, unnamed. Such would stir a monk to clasp his beads in shadowed nave. Names like calcium's quiet guard, ascorbic's sharp breath, monoglycerides in union, datum's hold azodicarbonamide, kin to woven mats, for bodies stretch. Yes, a thread binds your loaf to the floor, where forms bend low. Peasants may have known chill winds, mud's deep cling, the faint earth of beasts upon them. Yet their bread shared no bond with tools of toil. These bindings serve purpose. Of course, they yield softer crumb. Spring to the touch, sweeten the air, rise tall and light, obey the hand that shapes. Hold against time's pull, yield not to sorrow under weight. Vast hulls train dough as wayward kin. Sit steady, abide long, shun decay, whole form true, rise soft and high. Then marvel when the inner halls grow weary of the watch. Medieval rising knew no such tending, no softeners or wards against fade. It swelled by nature's breath, formed in humble hands. Baked, true to fire, softness worthy fare should, in time's gentle turn. Suspicion clings to loaves that defy the years, 2 weeks untouched, yet blooming fresh. Old eyes would seek signs of otherworldly hand. And the whitening, too, modern flowers, pale under chemical breath, as if earth's warm hue lost favor, and only ghost light suits the eye. Medieval bakers would gaze upon today's white loaves with the same quiet bewilderment you might hold for a cat draped in a tiny woven garment. Perplexed, a touch, uneasy, wondering softly who permitted such a sight. It runs deeper than the makings alone. It touches the very spirit of the craft. Medieval bread stood as true nourishment. Modern bread emerges as a crafted thing. One sustained whole realms of folk. The other strains to mimic bread's form while holding scant essence of it, just enough to pass the watchful eye of law. Your loaf of now seeks not to harm. It shapes itself for show, for ease of hand, for lingering on the shelf, not for the quiet rhythms of the body. Medieval bread bore no names, hard to whisper. Modern loaves sometimes carry shadows, even scholars ponder long. If a slice has ever sent your inner river surging sweet and wild, like a festival ride through hidden vales, you have felt the swift climb of it. Modern bread strikes. The bloods flow with haste, the inner keepers rush to steady it. A rise sharp and fleeting, then a fall that stirs whispers of deeper paths. Medieval bread moved otherwise. Slow in its giving. Steady as hearths, sensible as worn boots on a long road. Whole grains wove their hold, fibers guided the pace. Long tending unlocked its gifts, minimal touch from hand or tool. Digestion unfolded, gentle. Hour by hour, energy flowed even, like a stream through shadowed woods, not poured sudden as scattered petals of sugar. Envisioned a peasant breaking bread at dawn's first hush. No wild rush seized them. No heavy drop followed, no sharp hunger, clawed by mid-morning, urging words unkind over a lost morsel. Instead, a calm, sustaining fire carried them through the earth's pull, plowing deep furrows, gathering sun-ripened yields, hauling wood from silent groves, labors that would call watchers of rest to quiet counsel in our softer halls. No enchantment here, simply the old ways of earth, untouched by haste. The outer husk and inner spark of medieval flour served as gentle stays along the path, slowing the body's draw, easing the sugar's curve to stillness. Fibers bid time to the flow. Fermentation tamed sweets before lips met crust. Thus the loaf greeted your streams like a courteous polite passage. Modern bread arrives as a ram at ancient gates. Refined dust holds scant fiber. Glucose floods, sudden, like a feline scattering shelves in the night. Morning fare becomes chase, then stillness, then the call of bitter draughts, then a veil of Medieval souls knew nothing of sugar's hidden measure. No scrolls marked the scales. No voices cried wisdom through glowing lamps. They simply knew their bread, let them labor without tumble into hay or stone. The divide lies clear. Medieval loaves cradled the body's fire. Modern ones seek to claim it. and the shadows linger. Now, souls by the countless wrestle swift sugars, fallen lights, resistance in the streams, hungers born of craft for gain over true form. Medieval bread gave freely, modern bread barters with your inner tides, like a trader of veiled elixirs. In the quiet ward of sugar's reign, medieval bread holds the field untouched. And here rests a subtle wonder of those old loaves. Folk of that time held no knowing of why grace flowed so true. No sight of belly's hidden kin. No word for inner gardens, for life's small breakers, for yeast-born allies, hands washed, not always before the need. Yet somehow, through shadowed chance, their bread gifted the depths daily, pure happenstance. No scrolls of study, no heralds of wellness, just unseen hands at work, while fields cold against famine. The hidden key lay in wild tending. Every starter swelled as a faint realm of yeast and bacterial folk, bubbling soft like dwellers in a woven hall. These gatherings knew no cleansing fire. Tay-braided, wild and woven, kind to the human core. When loaves met the fires within, they carried living sparks, breaking fair gentle, guiding the inner flow, holding shadowed foes at bay. Not mere allies, named, but breath of life, atop mills of ages past. Modern loaves stand barren by contrast, still and spent, lacking the hum of true company. Shelves bear breads with life as sparse as sunless stones. Your depths gaze upon them and murmur low, where lies the gathering? No gift of helpful kin arrives, just hollow starts, and the dimming of lamps by afternoon's turn. Medieval bread bore acids born of patient rise too. Lactic whispers, athetic breath, compounds that eased the belly's tide, lowered its quiet waters, nurtured good dwellers within. They knew none of this by name, simply that their loaves brought no twist of ache, no veil of deeper unrest, and fiber wove abundant through it all. Stone flour spared no husk or spark. Every bite sent its full measure to the winding paths below. Modern kin holds so little, it might pass as woven air for show. Fiber fed the worthy unsen, kept flows even and true, gave medieval depths a strength modern gardens can only dream in silence. Even fading, yes, even the soft greening of time moved gentle there. Loaves stilled by nature's hand. When molds rose, they breathed harmless, born of earth alone. Not the shadowed strains that cling to warded slices now. Folk dried the weary crust to rusks firm, or softened it in broth till it yielded once more. No waste in that world, especially when bread outpaced healers in care of the core. So yes, those loaves knew grit and rust, faint crunches from earth's own kip, but the depths embraced them true. Modern bread earns tolerance like winter's long watch by medieval hearths. If you have pondered how those folk bore stones from quarries, swung iron through wood-bore beasts, on weary trails scaled walls in shadowed fray dealt, earth four lines beat grain from stalk tilled under vast skies, joined in strife, and walked endless paths without wilt, like thirsting blooms in sunless hall. The answer drifts, simple as mist. Bread not the fleeting kind that would dim their lights by noon, but medieval bread, a hearth fire burning slow and deep, not a taper's quick glow. Peasants shunned not fragile sweets or woven airs. They took dense holes from field and stone, heavy as iron for the hand. One wedge held hunger at bay for hours long. Two carried a day of earth's deep toil. Three rendered them near unyielding, save for the Lord's gathering toll, wrought by wild chance and nature's hand, not vast forges. It offered woven carbs of patient release, steady as dawn's rise, not the swift arc to heights, then slumber mid-morn, bound with minerals deep, fats from germs quiet hauled, gifts deepened by rise, fibers true. Medieval bread stood complete, veiled a simple loaf. Bodies of that age learned steady flame. No afternoon veil where eyes plead with scribe leaves. No hourly reach for morsels. No call to frosted draughts or spice-dousted regrets. Their fair wove motion into bone because it shaped for lasting vigil. without design named, even cloistered ones, lost in silent thought or rest in woven cells, drew bread as life's quiet root, monastic loaves, Newstern grace, yet held fire enough for chance through veil of hours, quill on parchment tending earth. In hush, limning pages with winged watchers who seemed to chide in faded gold. Warriors lived nigh on bread alone. Hosts marched on crusts dense with coal, bearing 30 miles in iron shell, arms heavy as forgotten oaths. Bread wove so deep into frame and fate that once stirred not just hollows, but fires in the street. If now folk grow shadowed sands carbs, then souls sparked realms anew. Beyond fare, it forged sinew, mended flame, held breath when frosts bit cruel and fleshkin grew scarce. Medieval bread offered no soft cradle. It steeled for the road. Modern bread dims the light. Medieval bread kindled peril's edge. Bread claimed the heart of medieval boards, yet stood not alone. Kindred fare gathered round, humble at times, shadowed by chance, yet woven true to lift the loaf from mere starch to earth's full gift. No bride-wrought meats or spreads, with words like ancient charms. They broke bread as fields intended, with simples that breathed sense in union. Take cheese, for one. Medieval wheels knew no false gleam of market blocks, soft as pulled tethers. True curds, aged, slow in cellars, deep. Temps of time, density to steady the hand, potent enough to sway you back if met unaware. With whole grain bread rising slowly through ancient methods, it created a deep bond of nourishment that could carry a peasant a solid 15 miles before breakfast, without a hint of fatigue. Can you imagine that? Nowadays, we get restless if the Wi-Fi goes out for just 10 minutes, right? But back then, it was all about the basics and the good stuff. Then came the broth, warm and hearty, not that delicate, measured sip we see health enthusiasts enjoying today, but a robust concoction simmered from bones that had been stewing for hours, mixed with roots, greens, and herbs gathered nearby. This was real food, rich and comforting, like a warm hug on a cold day. It had a depth that felt like it was plucked right from the earth, often being the only warmth against winter's chill. When you dunked that bread into the broth, it transformed into a gentle porridge, wrapping around you like a cozy blanket, igniting the inner fires we all have. And let's not forget about beans. They were like the dependable sidekicks, packed with nutrients and fiber. Together with the bread, they formed a powerhouse meal, sustaining entire villages through tough times. Just picture a peasant from back in the day hearing that folks today are turning away from starches and legumes by choice. They'd probably think it was some kind of curse, right? Even ale played its part in this culinary story. Not the overly hoppy, aggressive brews we see today, but a smooth, gentle drink made from barley and yeast. This ale was safer than the wild streams, providing soft, sure calorious, pairing perfectly with bread. It was like they were destined to be together. Monks even sang its praises in secret verses, celebrating this simple yet profound combination. Bread and ale flowed together like a harmonious duet, holding life steady with a comforting hum. Onions lingered nearby, along with herbs from shaded gardens, and whatever greens managed to survive the season's whims. These humble additions rounded out the table nicely. Nothing flashy or artificial, just honest food that worked hard alongside the loaf. Medieval bread was strong because it faced no enemies of craft, no fancy meats loaded with hidden sugars, no preservatives to fight off time's decay. It blended into a greater flow of life, simple, untouched, and beautiful in its quiet rhythm. The reason medieval bread was so nourishing body, mind, and so lay in the making process itself. It was a slow endeavor, requiring effort and care. No quick fixes or idle hands. Here, no machines humming in the background, no fast-moving iron arms, just time and dedication. The grain had to meet stone, with heavy sacks dragged to mills owned by lords who collected their toll for the ancient grinding stones. These wheels were older than many tailies, perhaps whispering secrets from the past as they turned. There was no shortcut around this rite of passage. People would bring their grain to the mill, waiting patiently in line, eyes fixed on the quern, knowing that the Lord's hand or their own kin would claim their share. It was a ritual, really. They'd watch their wheat transform into coarse flour, rich with the earth's essence, whether they wanted to or not. Then came the kneading, done by hand, awakening forgotten muscles. Medieval dough was no pushover. It met the hands with the same resolve found in the earth. Shaping it mirrored the hard work of the fields or the forge, but without the cold iron waiting in the wings. The prize was simple, a testament to life itself. Next up was the starter, bubbling away like a lively family member. It needed constant care flour to feed it, gentle stirring, and a bit of love. If you neglected it for even a week, it could turn into a shadow of its former self, almost an enemy. But if you nurtured it, it rewarded you with dough, infused with wisdom, touched by a hint of sourness that made it truly special. After the mixing came the long wait, a vigil that unfolded slowly as the dough shifted in hidden ways. Modern folks might call this a slow rise, but medieval people understood it as the only way to create something truly great. And then came the moment of truth, the fire's embrace. Ovens warmed by patiently gathered wood, with embers carefully swept aside. The dough was laid tenderly on stones that had been kissed by heat, and prayers were whispered to ward off burns or mischief from a curious dog. All this effort wove meaning deep into the bread, making it more than just food. It was a symbol of community, a link between the past and the present, and a testament to the hard work that nourished not just bodies, but souls. Bread was not a lonely wanderer. It was a guide for a whole group of Earth's faithful kin. Imagine the stories that could be told around a table laden with this humble fare, where each bite was a connection to generations past. The bread, the broth, the beans, and the elde all tell a story of resilience, of survival, and of the simple joys that come from sharing a meal with those you love. Isn't that what life is all about? No path of haste here. Right. It's not about some lofty virtue. It's more about how ease feels, just out of reach. The warm embrace of the oven's heart. All of it comes together to create loaves that are dense with flavor. You can really taste the minerals, drawn pure and alive, teaming up with nature's finest allies. Now, let's chat about bread today versus back in medieval times. Modern bread is all about speed because, well, it can be. But medieval bread, that stuff rose to the occasion. Literally, because it was a matter of survival. When a loaf holds the promise of tomorrow's light, you know hands are going to turn true. Think about it, those medieval loaves were like gifts from the earth itself. They weren't flashy, they were simple, honest, and earthy. Modern bread can sometimes feel like a joke in comparison. If you take a closer look at the grain at the heart of it all, you'll see that today's wheat is a far cry from what our ancestors knew. Gone are the days of gentle, rooted grains that were shy in their ways. Today's wheat is more like the earth's relentless child tall, quick to rise, and unyielding. It puffs up with air, all fierce in its gluten grip, bred to reach heights beyond what nature intended. It's a bit of a trade-off. You know, while it looks impressive, there's a quiet toll being paid in the depths. Let's not forget about those ancient grains, like einkorn spelt in emmer. They had this simple grace, rising modestly and holding steady through storms. They didn't claim fields as their conquests. They just existed in harmony with the earth. Gluten was woven in gently, just enough to give the loaf a lift without being harsh on the body. Farmers sowed these grains as the earth allowed, never dreaming of endless yields just a breath against famine's door. Then came the shapers of our time over the last century, with hands full of knowledge. And hearts true, they've transformed wheat to withstand harsh winds, grow vast in bounty, and fend off pests. They've birthed loaves that are soft as gathered clouds, stirring something deep in the heart. But here's the catch. In their quest for abundance, they've woven a stranger into the body's ancient paths. Modern wheat has more gluten than those old kin ever knew, making it soft, stretchy, and visually appealing. Yet, it stirs unrest and confusion in our hidden depths. Gluten isn't the only concern. Today's grains draw scant nutrients from the earth. Those vast fields drain the soil faster than hands could ever clear the weeds of old. Modern bread swells quickly, but takes less of the mineral's fire. It's impressive in form, sure, but often veiled in true wealth, much like many flashy displays of might. Medieval wheat, while less grand, packed a punch of stone and root. That was true. Modern mills deepen the silence. Even if the grain holds some spark, refinement tends to claim it. The echoes of vitamins return, hailed as renewed, almost as if loss is merely a token mend. When our ancestors broke bread, they felt it in their bones. Yes, the depths would murmur. This is fair. But modern slices, they greet us like an uninvited guest, wary strained, and filled with a hint of modern wheat dosen, to seek, Mali said, it just outpaces its own time. Shaped for endless flow, it forgets the body's quiet rhythm. Medieval grain rose from wild chance, shaped by nature sand, and 1,000 tillers who were blissfully unaware of their craft in perfect starch. Our ancestors didn't shy away from gluten's weave. It met them gently. There's a vast divide here, clear as day. Medieval bread knew its roots. It had a voice, a place. Modern bread, it's more about the journey, a passage through vast halls. Those medieval loaves breathed the breath of the village, shaped by local earth, the sky's mood, and the grain's own kind. They rose in hidden ways, kissed by the oven's fire and the baker's quiet hum at dawn. Modern kin, on the other hand, bends to the whims of woven belts and endless measurements of craft. Let's start with the seasons. There's no baking from an endless store here. Harvests breathed life once a year. If failure struck, it turned to rise hush. Oats' steady hold, barley's grit, or whatever the earth spared from the storm's ire. Each crust tells a whisper of that year's tale. Spring's soft rain, summer's calm veil, and harvests touched by chance. Grain was precious, traveled sparingly. Flour came from nearby fields, the ones you could trace with your eyes, named in curses when yields faltered. Your bread didn't shun the nameless blend. It embraced the flavors of your corner of the earth, for it sprang from there, and honesty wove through it all. Dense loaves claimed their weight, and sour breaths embraced their own. There was no veil of false light, just pure, honest bread. Isn't that what we all crave? If a rift traced down the loaf's heart from oven's fleeting overkiss, no alarm stirred the air, no grand renewal of name or form, no wards against time, no softeners of yield, no shadows named like healers' scrolls. Stale crust came as earth's own breath, normal as dawn's quiet turn. When faint molds rose, they held no glow of other worlds, no suspicious swell. Plain kin to field and stone, the kind scraped gentle or shaped to rusks firm, or softened in ale's warm hold. Waste shunned like forgotten kin. Modern loaves weave for endless vigil. Sameness, soft a hush that bends the heart. Crafted two brave roads of cart and hold. Markets watch, the eye's quiet claim. Fluff to yield. Compliance? True, unyielding to fade beyond nature's span. Thus fortified with unseen hands steadied firm, pale under breath of art, sweet and faint, bound in gleam of distant craft until ancestry fades to whisper. But medieval bread breathed clear, rooted near, tuned to season's hush, honest as stone under moon. It bloomed and stilled in village rhythm slow, and the body knew it deep. Welcome to the unseen kin, the minerals drawn pure, the grains of local earth, all woven true. Medieval loaves craved no flawlessness. Realities sufficed. In the end, the quiet divide rests here. Medieval bread held its truth entire. Modern kin wanders, still in search. Simple flowed through old crusts, direct as furrows line, honest as hand to soil. Kin to the tiller who stirs before light, lifts stone for days, quiet joy, speaks full and steady, untouched by storm. Modern bread mirrors the novice hand, heaping unneeded shades to claim a place at board. Medieval loaves sustained realms whole. No glamour cloaked them. No softness cradled. No sheaths of cheer, with vows in bold scrip. They fade true, complete in measure, without inner tempests roused. Every thread worked with frame's own ways. Whole grains steady. Enzymes of wild breath. Microbes unbound, rise patient and long. Flour rich with stones, hidden fire, all gifted the depths precisely. The wisdom of it slept unnamed. Modern kinmasters veil alone. Friendly in gaze, comfort in scent, slices even as dawn. Yet within, refined dust bare it of wealth, binders to stretch days beyond kingdoms old, gluten shaped for swell, not inner peace. The belly tastes, pauses soft, then murmurs low. What form is this? What path shall I weave? Peasants of old questioned not bread's grace, no fear of sugar's hidden surge. No words on gluten's quiet hold, no heralds through glowing veils. Bread served so true they wove all days around it. Strength for field and forge, for burden born, for fray's shadowed call, for winters that would fold modern frames in hearth's dim corner. Modern loaves stir swell and weariness often. Fog of thought, edge of unrest, as if the crust takes quiet offense at the bite. Medieval bread stood as ally in breath's long watch. Modern kin moves like shared hall dweller, kind in intent, yet faltering deep. Yet bread shoons, not all trust. True sourdough, risen wild. Grains held whole. Mills of ancient turn can birth loaves, akin to elders, nourishing deep, yielding gentle, savor rich. Free of shades kin, two woven mats of stretch, the old ways linger not lost. Veiled beneath ease and forge's swift path, truth unfolds plain. Medieval bread rose no designed gift of earth. It breathed superfood because real it stood. No hastes carved, no guards of time, no wandering of soul. Just grain from field, water clear, salt of deep. 1,000 years hands binding all in hush. Cleopatra the Seventh did not stir into realms of tranquil welcome. Trumpets, soft and petals strewn. Born in the hush of 69 BCE, she entered the shadowed weave of Ptolemaic line. A house woven famed for fray within walls, where peace bloomed safest beyond marble gates. Her father, Ptolemy, the 12th Aulets, earned whisper of flute-bearer from voices sharp, as if Egypt's throne craved melody amid storm. He drained coffers swifter than ruled steady, yet Greek winds filled his breath. Distrust shadowed every step. Rome held debts vast as the great hall's scrolls. From first steps, Cleopatra wandered halls of marble where secrets echoed faint. Betrayals half-breathed. Panic cloaked in silk. Alexandria gleamed eternal. Lighthouse standing sentinel over waves sigh. Scholars murmured in libraries' hush. Traders from shadowed south, from isles of Hellas, from eastern vales filled lanes with hue and murmur, yet palace hearts swirled as serpent's nest. At times, true, by venom's hand, that day. What set her apart breathed in the mind's quiet fire. While kin rested in ornament's grace, she turned to scrolls. Listened through veils. Learned tongue of Nile's own folk. None before claimed it so, binding her nearer to souls than carolers through a century's turn. Philosophy's paths she walked. Numbers steady weave, realms of rule tongues manifold. By youth's tender span, 9 flowed from her lips. Charming, distant heralds, probing shadowed traitors. Silencing debate, without veil of scribe to soften edge. Yet early days wove beyond letters alone. Egypt bent low. Famine's breath neared. Rome's shade crossed, seas vast. Ptolemy the 12th bent knee to throne's hold, pleading Rome's shield. Each grace bore Rome's quiet toll. Tribute heavy debbed deep in it, humble veil drawn. Cleopatra watched father yield, barter, flee through shadowed gates. Thus long air crown touched brow. Truth settled deep. Egypt's breath held only if guyed out hot. Every shadow, Even in childhood's hush, she knew fate craved cunning over rest. By early teens' veiled turn, Cleopatra held mastery rare in Ptolemaic blood, breath drawn long enough for years to bloom. Alexandria's seat gleamed serene from afar, pillars bathed in sun, tomes in quiet rows, incense drifting through courts of light. Yet within pulsed as waters deep with hidden currents, kin to reunion, shadowed by fang, each kin a rival hushed, each voice an aim veiled, each feast a breath that might still. She learned to read Hall's quiet breath, as youth now traced tales of hearth. Siblings stood less blood than thorns ahead. Ptolemy's wove proud thread of kin's quiet strife, ending oft in venom's kiss, blade's whisper, or Nile's gentle claim after Eve's boat in hush. Cleopatra knew this, weave not from faded leaves, but hands around her breathing it anew. Thus she shaped herself, bold word when stars aligned, silence when shadows stirred. Servants true she marked, eunuchs bearing truths, paths where steps to shun. Echoed faint, chief among rivals breathed her father's favored, brother Ptolemy XIII. Younger, cradled in silk, tutors weaving worlds, where all bent to sandals gleam. Leadership births quiet claim. Cleopatra rose on watch, scroll, stratagems hush. He strode in crowns, mimic, she wove realms' hidden threads. Yet greatest shadow fell not from blood. Egypt's frame bent low, debts strained, like bow, Rome's hand grew heavy moon by moon. Grain's lack stirred murmurs, fathers' watchers wove frantic hold against shatter. Cleopatra beheld from carved doors, veil, through silk's faint drift, saw bonds shift as mist. Bribes outpace law's steady call. Kings hold born less of heaven's vow, more weave of foot swift in dance. These turns forged instinct deep. Flattery's easy flow marked hand unseen. Nobles pause, breathed fear. Exiled Shadoshe weighed in cause and echo. Palace schooled her true chaos, its patient scroll. By 14 summers she stood no mere king's kin, but player in peril's quiet game. Prize Egypt's ancient breath, lost the endless hush. Cleopatra VII's tender years of youth unfolded amid one of Egypt's deepest shadows in generations past, a famine vast and unrelenting, born when the Nile held back its sacred flood for realms of old. Drought whispered hardship. For Egypt, bound wholly to the river's yearly rise, it tore the world asunder. Fields withered under merciless sun. Hunger crept through every hall. Prices for grain climbed like vines unchecked, till even nobles gathered stores with wary hands, akin to creatures bracing for endless winter. All this stirred, while Cleopatra stood scarce old enough for counsel whispers in our distant time. For a princess in mid-teens hush, this bore no mere storm of earth. It schooled her in the veiled arts of realm's breath. She beheld how swiftly order faded when sustenance slipped away. Throngs gathered soft before palace gates, voices rising for the Nile's lost gift. Traders faced murmurs of greed in their scales. Temples faltered in rite, offerings scant as desert bloom. From Kamenha to throne zone weave, all hung on threads of harvest spared, while Ptolemy XII faltered, pointed fingers at shadowed hands. Dispatched pleas to Rome for aid and quiet pardon for debts long woven. Cleopatra turned eye to survival's quiet craft. She traced reserves of grain in dim stores, mapped paths of trade over distant waves, weighed laws that guided bread to hollow hands, learned which harbors still drew bounty from afar, which lands buckled silent under famine's grasp. Rather than veil in splendor's hold, she gazed upon the people's quiet ache, the failings etched in her own line steps. This trial gifted her profound hush. Thrones endured not on heaven's sole claim or rights of elder day. A guide must move, bend with the wind, weave through tempests, the gods unbound. Deeper still she saw Egypt's frame as fragile reed. One flood withheld, one choice astray, one Roman shadow castan. Realms dissolved to dust, the dearth tempered her spirit's core. Steel for the crown to come, where another might yield to faintness or lament feasts thinned by want. Cleopatra honed resolve like blade and firelight. She marked how swiftly folk turned from throne when young ones hungered, beheld tumults rise, whispers of uprising stir, the slender veil twixt fealty and flame. These lessons of youth breathed no distant tale. They routed deep as Nile's own bed, foundation for her reign's unfolding. Long ere Caesar's gaze met hers or fleets bent to her will, Cleopatra learned queenship bloomed, not in bloom of face or silver tongue alone, but facing ruin with mind unclouded. Grasped saken by mid-teens gentle turn, truth settled heavy as marble slab. Egypt claimed no mastery of its woven fate. Rome, vast in reach, hungering ever, fixed upon the inner sea's wide embrace, circled the land like watcher from shadowed crag, awaiting frailties. And for her kin, Ptolemy the 12th offered feast unwitting. Years prior, he bound throne through Roman charms, coffers spilled wide, gifts lavish as lesser realms themselves. Yet Rome granted no grace from heart's warmth, each coin woven chained. The hunt by her youth's shadowed span, those bonds drew taut. Roman gatherers walked harbors under sun. Envoys strode palace floors with stride of owners, claimed even Rome's inner phrase rippled to Alexandria's glow, as if Egypt breathed extension of senatorial hearth. Cleopatra held this close in watch, etched names of houses wielding sway, generals binding oaths, factions rising soft or crumbling faint. Her sight stood greatest treasure. Unlike her sire, she knew Rome's might bent not to plea. It yielded to measured weave. Survival in this veiled age craved Rome's own tongue. Its deeper aims unveiled, outwitted soft when stars aligned, yet never bold in defiance shone. Rome's nearness reshaped not discourse alone. It stirred Egypt's hidden tides. Nobles dreaming thrones fled to Roman shade. Every hall's murmur bore threat cloaked as friendly breath from afar. Siblings grew viewing Rome as heaven's breath entwined with stern hand. Seer and taskmaster, distant kin granting or shattering lands by whim's quiet turn. For Cleopatra, this foreign veil wove peril and path alike. While kin shrank from giant's tread, she saw puzzled deep, pieces shifting slow, motives veiled in mist, egos vast as weapons forged. She knew independence held if guide bore mind keener than senator's quill, charms swaying deeper than envoy's vow. These watches sowed seeds of bonds to come, stratagems patient, unions of legends soft. Long ere generals bent to her light, she traced Rome's thought, its hidden flow, how it yielded not felt a hand-cunning inguide's hush. Cleopatra 7 lingered yet in youth's embrace, when realms shattered in splendor's fall. Her father, Ptolemy the 12th, stirred ire from every shadowed corner at once. Nobles scorned him for treasuries, drained to whisper. Folk turned from famine's bite and tolls unrelenting. Even priests, masters of gracious veil or a throne seat, found excuses spent. At length, Egypt breathed its ancient right when Ptolemy strayed. Uprising rose like river unchecked. Ptolemy the 12th fled to exile's arms, seeking Rome's hand once more. Cleopatra, crowned untouched, scarce seasoned to guide her own hearth, beheld dynasty sway as acrobat o'er a chasm deep. Elder sister, Bernice the 4th, claimed power in absence, crowning self-queen with flair bold as storm, unveiled. For Cleopatra, this wove no mere hall's play. It schooled the paths untrod by wisdom's light. While Bernice sought hold through might and spectacle's gleam, Cleopatra weighed the echoes soft. Marquette noblest shifting gaze, watched distant heralds turn, saw folk embrace any steady hand. Skill aside, youth soft learn cautions, soft trust not all, share not deep. Cleopatra traced coups' unyielding weave. In this span, exile's harsh breath touched near. Though she held Egypt's soil while father wandered Rome's stone, she felt dynasty's frame dissolve as mist at dawn. Letters from afar bore rumors faint. Would Rome lift Ptolemy the 12th, and claim Egypt's breath entire? Would Bernice turn blade on kin? Cleopatra breathed betwixt hope's glow, fear's hush, stratagem's steady hand. Chaos bent her not to dust. It cleared the veil to purpose true. Royalty shunned shelter's claim, it marked the mark for arrow's flight. She knew of throne called near. Roman grace, Egyptian heart, mind swift too, weave both. Strands must bind self-held whole, through shadowed dance. These years of earth's deep turn forged her rare in ancient gaze. Royal learning from ruin's hush, not echoing its call. Cleopatra emerged from kin's veiled storm, not dimmed, but honed keen as Nile's own edge, ready for thrones. Wait, fate whispered already toward her path. When Cleopatra the seventh neared 15 or 16 summers' turn, tides of realm shifted soft, yet sure. Ptolemy the 12th. Exile spent wandering Rome like seeker of lost home, long overdue. At last swayed hearts to Egypt's call. Persuasion generous in name, he poured gold, till Senate shrugged in halls, murmuring, take realm anew. Rome loosed arms, Bernice held firm, yet end came swift, etched in sorrow's hand. Berenice fail, and flute-born king returned trembling, yet held victorious. Cleopatra beheld restoration from heart's own watch, gleaning realpolitik deeper than Tudor's quill. Saw Rome move not for oath or creed, but coin's quiet pall. Marked soldiers' tread reshaped fates entire. Beheld thrones claim frail as morning mist, one breath ambition ruled. Next name scraped from stone eternal. Yet in return's hush, gain bloomed for her. Ptolemy the 12th bore debts to Rome beyond repay's reach, craving Egypt's hold absolute to feed the endless flow. This called for a steady hand beside him, one versed in realm's veiled ways, trusted deeper than remaining kin, who bore faint mark of fealty and truth. Cleopatra became that quiet anchor. In youth's tender hush, she stepped into council's sadderhood glow, ear bent to pleas of folk, eye tracing judgments of rule. Her father, worn by storm's endless turn, age swifter than ointments could veil, leaned evermore on her clear sight. She weighed shipments of grain under watchful sun, sifted quarrels of law with measured calm, guided tolls with land still bent by hunger's grasp. No right of show alone, this breathed schooling for throne's true weight. Alexandria's halls murmured soft of the young princess, her queries keen as blades twice honed by time. Distant heralds penned words of her clear voice, poised unyielding, insight deep as Nile's bed. Even Roman watchers marked her mind's quiet, fire long ere. Beauty drew their gaze, restoration carved harsh, coffers bled, Egypt humbled in shadowed bargain. Yet for Cleopatra, it lifted her from daughter's veil to shaper of fates, from Seeblin's faint shade into power's steady weave, readying for throne to share. Then claimant time, by 17 summers, gentle close, Cleopatra the 7th stood no mere watcher at edge of rule. She wove its threads, unseen. Ptolemy the 12th faded in frame and fire. Exile's toll, debts vast, famine's bite, uprising's echo drained him hollow. Kingdom held by Rome's stern gaze and her rising grace alone. While brother Ptolemy, the 13th born name of heir and hallow right, Cleopatra claimed true forging. Tongues deepened, Egyptians' ancient flow, Greeks' silver cadence, Aramaic's hush, Latin's iron edge, and more, for sway oft bent on words in kin's own breath. Helen's rights she traced to no earth's mending hand, rhetoric's art to turn advisers, captains true, philosophy's paths to steel the inner flame. Thus bloomed youth with statesman's quiet arsenal, yet scrolls yielded to world's own school. She walked with toll-keepers through dust-veiled lanes, beheld hearings in justice's hush, met envoys from shadowed lands, greeted Nubian hearts with warmth unbound, Syrian lords with courtesy deep, Romans with flattery measured as tide. Her step alone whispered steadiness, breath Egypt craved amid storm. Court simmered soft with hidden currents, nobles sensed Ptolemy. The 12th's light waned near, ambitious voices pondered airs in twilight murmurs. Cleopatra felt the weight's slow press, new brothers watchers, eunuchs weaving schemes, poised to bind him once crown-touched brow. Rome sought puppet mild, chained by debt, gilding EC. Cleopatra bent to none such path. Thus she wove quiet bonds, priests drawn near, their blessing throne's true root. Generals held with trust, where fathers sowed doubt. Egypt's wealth she mapped entire, foreseeing lands to stir 'gainst Toll's hard hand. Folks, breaths weighed, knowing famine's scars and Frey's unrest, yearned for guide firm, clear. Late youth's forge tempered her deep, each shadow carved frailty faint. Each envoy's word honed instinct keen, each palace whisper recalled. Breath held in steps 3 ahead. By 17, no mere throne's seeker. Defender, forged in waiting, father's fall would loose. True Frey, when Cleopatra the 7th touched 17's close, moment long weighed, dreaded, traced in silent turns. At last breathed near Ptolemy, the 12th, stilled, rain woven of debt's chain, desperation's grasp, please bend low. Yet legacy endured sure. He left her not solitary in fate's hush. In final scroll, he bound her with younger brother Ptolemy, the 13th, as joint guides of Egypt. Youth scarce flowered and boy, yet tender, set to steer realm vast mid inner sea's wide arms. What shadows might unfold? Word-stirred freedom laced with peril's breath. Authority earned in watchful years, now hers, yet Thrawn bore fractures deep. Famine's scar, wrought within. Rome's veil, unyielding, beside her fidgeted brother, child ringed by hands eager to shape. Court stirred swift, loyal shadows hailed her mind's clear light, sway's gentle fire. Ptolemy the 13th's kin, Parthena's chief, among Attila stern, closed ranks, tight. No queen unbound for them, puppet king on threads of gold alone. Cleopatra yielded no shade, coins bore her alone. Bold breath to Egypt, Rome alike. True hand here rests. Officials met direct, commands unshadowed by brother's veil. Envoys faced her tongue in their own charm-weaving paths from peril. Finances mended soft, tolls eased in weary lands. Grain's flow steadied true. Early steps unveiled truth halls whispered long. No right-bound co-guide. Governance her path, yet poise roused shadows swift. Parthenos, we've turned 'gainst her near, at once. To Ptolemy the 13th, the murmured sister sought all sway, painted peril, will unbound, unfit for royal veil. Cleopatra claimed throne with light and steel, yet gifts that raised her rare drew blade in turn. Tempest neared, brother, soon deepest foe. Cleopatra the 7th, scarce settled in queen's hush when foreseen storm broke, gentle o'er her path. Ptolemy the 13th's shadows, Parthenos ever weaving. Attila's ambition firm, deemed Egypt, craved one guiding male. There's 2 binders strings on gilded form, Cleopatra's mind keen, step unyielding, refusal of edged peril vast 2 plans. Strain rose soft at first, missives vanished faint. Allies shifted distant or pressed low, decrees delayed as breath held back. Envoys turned to brother's hall, signs she knew deep. Stranglehold cloaked in silk's soft grasp, yet yield she shunned. Ministers faced direct, watchers bypassed calm. Rule held firm till brother's kin sweated faint. Subtle we've sufficed, no more. Rivals craved her gone. Parthenos loosed full shadow coop carved true. Cleopatra, youth yet fierce beyond blades. Easy reach outrage folks to stir was pressed from Alexandria's glow. Ringed of foe's powers stripped, guided near realm's edge. Choice breathed plain, fade as dethroned shades before, or rise in fray. Fight claimed her heart. From capital she slipped with faithful few. East to Pelusium sands hushed. Their army gathered slow. Exile honed no mere watch. Charisma wielded keen as iron tribal hearts sellswards bold. Governors near pledged breath. Funds drawn, stores bound, bonds woven true. Not mere return, she traced. Triumphs, light. Youth's exile schooled deeper still. Truth unveiled, guide not mere sage or silver-tongued. Bold to face kin's shadow, keen to weave past Rome's grasp. Resilient to bloom from any fall. Teenage span closed not in crown's gleam, but rebellion breathed in her name. Wager to shift worlds soft, As Egypt's claim she readied, new breath stirred. Region-wide, Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, now tempered deep by betrayal's quiet forge and honed keen through exile's shadowed trial, stood ready to meet him, not as one cast low, but as queen destined to weave legend through the ages. The Library of Alexandria did not rise from humble longings or whispers of idle wonder. It breathed forth from a royal line that hungered to gather every thread of the world as hidden wisdom upon its endless shelves. When the early Ptolemies shaped their gleaming haven along Egypt's sea-embraced shore, they dreamed a city to cast Athens into gentle shade, Babylon's ancient glow into faint echo, every cradle of thought through time's long veil. No seat among the mighty powers, they sought the very heart's pull of all human seeking. And so, in the luminous core of this radiant new realm, they raised the library. Yet library falls too soft upon its breath. No hushed chamber where scrolls slumbered in dust's quiet hold. A colossal weabe, drawing wisdom steady into its boundless halls, the Ptolemies decreed that every vessel gliding into Alexandria's harbor open its heart to royal gaze. Any leaves of wisdom, found philosophies, winding rivers, poetries, silver dreams, mathematics, steadfast lines, medicines, tender arts, engineering's patient craft tall, bore away to the library's embrace. Originals held close in reverence, faint echoes returned to weary hands at sea. Alexandria birthed the realm's graceful claim upon the mind's veiled gifts, so finely wrought that distant lands near marveled at its quiet daring. Within those sacred walls, knowledge stirred alive and warm. Thousands of seekers dwelt there, labored side by side, voices rising soft in measured debate, sparks of passion fading into twilight's hush. They journeyed from Greece's sunlit hills, Egypt's river-veiled depths, Persia's starlit plains, Judea's sacred whispers, North Africa's shadowed winds, and realms far beyond, drawn by the promise of endless scrolls unfurling. Royal bread and shelter flowing steady, the library's quiet call lay not in mere gathering. It breathed refinement's gentle hand, order's calm weave, challenge's patient fire, expansion's boundless reach. They traced how heavens wheeled in silent grace, how the body flowed with hidden rivers, how tongues wove kin across the earth, why the world unfolded in its veiled waves. In Mani Torrens it stood as the first true hearth of unending inquiry, born beneath a dynasty's watchful light. To wander its pillared paths meant ears filled with theories in 10 ancient flows, nostrils touched by ink's warm breath on scrolls newly born, eyes witness to discoveries that would shape centuries in soft shadow. Here, minds mapped stars across the velvet night, measured earth's gentle curve with breath held true, unwound texts from distant hearths and woven lands, penned treatises to murmur through the turning of ages. No mere stones and beams rose here, a proclamation deep and still. Alexandria claimed, not through sword-s cold edge or gold-s, heavy gleam alone, but through the mind's unyielding flame, monument to the soul's quiet wonder, raised by hands that deemed true wisdom power's deepest crown. Yet for all its radiant splendor, the library's light wove a fragile thread, brilliance so vast, casts shadows long and deep, and forces born of realm's hidden phrase, war's distant murmur, reached out soft toward its glow. The Library of Alexandria gathered no mere parchments. It drew the brightest souls from earth's every shadowed corner, a lodestone for thinkers. As gold whispers, 2 hands unseen, poets of lyric hush, weavers of numbers keen, watchers of stars patient, healers of flesh and hidden wound, masters of tongues manifoldal, found their winding path to Alexandria's tranquil fire, promise royal grace in full measure, playgrounds boundless for thought's gentle bloom, what no other sanctuary offered. Time's unhurried span, earth's steady gifts in abundance, freedom from survival's heavy chain, seekers nourished, sheltered beneath marble's calm, freed to dream and wander mind's vast seas. Picture the air within those halls, voices breaking silence like thunder softened by mist, one passage alive, with whispers on the cosmos' veiled heart, another tracing bodies' secret weave or poetry's flowing line. Chaos breathed soft, rivalry's subtle edge, sparks of human frailty, faint and passing. For when minds vast as mountains gather close, egos flicker like embers in the night, yet that very strain bore fruit of gold. Ideas pressed onward, steady as river carving stone. Kin of Zeno, pondered beneath colonnades draped in shade. Healers parted beasts' quiet forms to glimpse humanity's hidden grace. Tongue-keepers weighed scripts, born from crowns afar. Stargazers etched the wanderer's patient paths. Minds of measure scratched wax tablets deep, unearthing forms to linger in halls of learning through millennia's hushed turn. These souls read not the world's faint echoes alone. They stretched its boundaries wide. Collaboration wove the deepest spell. Borders melted soft as dawn. A philosopher of Hellas might weigh sacred fires with Judean heart. Nile-born priest, guardian of hieroglyphs' ancient breath, shared quiet notes with wanderer from Indu's distant glow. Wisdom flowed unbound across tongue and rite, mingling gentle as the Mediterranean's patient tides. The library bloomed as living discourse, vast and unbroken. No single life span to cradle its whole. From this fertile hush's wonders time still bows to honor. Earth's full girth, traced near without flaw. Geometry's roots, deepened in tranquil light. First murmurs of life's slow unfolding. Atoms' hidden dance, worlds wheeling in celestial grace. Dramas weighed in balance, true. Chronicles gathered soft. Healing scrolls pushed gently past the veil. Never before had the world beheld such bloom, poured forth by realm's unwavering hand. Kings through ages raised stone to echo their might. Alexandria forged minds to outlast the stars, yet for all its luminous grace, this sanctuary of thought knew strain's quiet veil ever near. Radiance such as this blooms not in void alone. It draws eyes of awe, breaths of envy faint, shadows of peril drawing close. For now, the library flourished in serene fire, but seeds of its quiet fading stirred just beyond walls aglow. If seekers formed the library's beating heart, its paths of gathering flowed as lifeblood, pumping wisdom steady through every hall. Ptolemies gathered not in idle hush, obsession wove deep, reach unyielding for every parchment Earth's long ages had breathed forth. Their quiet aim plain, yet reaching beyond stars. All written breath, cradled beneath one vaulted sky. In pursuit, ways unfolded from light's pure gleam to edges shadowed soft. Harbor's ancient rites shone boldest still. Every hull bending to Alexandria's royal breath, searched stem from stern with patient care. Hands claimed leaves of science's steadfast light, verses' dreaming flow. Faith's sacred hush, healer's gentle map, sea paths whispered guide. Tomes rushed tender to library's waiting arms, scribes' steady hands birthing twins of truth. Echoes returned to owner's weathered grasp. Originals, Earth's finest voice in form, lingered woven close. Thus earn its legends soft, the books of the ships. Hunger stretched further into the world's veiled corners. Scrolls drawn from Greece's sunlit stalls, Africa's shadowed markets, Near East's spice-wound lanes. Hands sent afar with coffers deep as rivers, claiming rarities at Earth's full measure. Seekers wandering distant hearths, bid not to learn alone, but bear foreign vaults, quiet gifts homeward fare if fate smiled gentle. Keen and woven, if stars turned otherwise. Alexandria whispered of thirst unending, a haven whose guides craved wisdom as others claimed land's broad sweep. Halls of translation deepened the endless. Heralds from crowns afar brought tongue-born works as bonds of quiet peace. No idol rest upon the shelf. First-ordered cradle of tongues rose serene, minds manifold turning foreign breath into Greek's silver flow. Knowledge spilled free across rite and veil, thought from Indu's ancient glow, Thales from eastern sands, chronicles from Persia's starlit realm. Egypt's river-born grace all found their resting hush. Relentless tides swelled the hoard beyond mortal dream. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls, nearing perhaps a million's veiled breath. No span of lives, not even woven through ages, to drink its fullness deep. Such wove, the intent true. No soul's solitary path, cradle for civilization's endless flame. Yet appetites so vast, bore shadow faint and growing, Alexandria claimed not wisdom alone, but earth's solemn ward, swelling beyond replace. Loss of wound time could scarce mend. Brilliance gathered vast, fading unthinkable as midnight sun. Yet history cradles not light's pure gleam, it weighs it gentle, breath by breath. For all its reach without end, chaos loomed as labyrinth deep without souls to order its grace. Greatest among them breathed Callimachus, poet-seeker, whose mind flowed serene as archive flawless honed. Beneath his tranquil hand, revolution stirred soft. The pine-axe vast leaves bound in tomes manifold, spine of wisdom's boundless hall. No simple tally of names, authors branched by kind's quiet flow. Works summed in whispers true, lives traced in gentle echo. Tomes held in grasp, precise through centuries veil. Ancient world's first, boundless weave. Seeker's lantern on fragile leaf. Through Callimachus come gaze, vast seas parted serene. Scrolls, no longer drowning, endless tide. A healer, tracing bodies' hidden ways, could summon every known scroll of form and flow at once. A poet might follow epic Thales' gentle thread across cultures vast and veiled. Yet Alexandria's quiet mastery wove beyond mere tallies. Keepers dwelled there, less guardians of dust than shapers of thoughts, deep current. They guided seekers through shadowed paths, cradled fragile leaves against time's breath, tended translations, silver links, ensured wisdom's river ran clear and true. Wardens of ideas born, holding all from neglect's hush. Insects' faint crawl, damp air's soft kiss, or mind's wandering fog. Within those halls, paths of craft bloomed serene. Numbers, steady scrolls gathered close for eye's patient way. Verses arrayed by style's flowing grace, region's ancient hum. Schools of thought stoics, iron calm. Epicureans, gentle ease. Aristotelians, measured gaze each. Claimed haven hushed. Beside stood the museum sister in marble's glow, cradling halls for voices, rise tables for shared bread amid talk. Gardens veiling debates, soft fire, long porches where thoughts took form met challenge. Keen at times, unraveled by tongues, sharper still. From this cradle rose minds eternal. Eratosthenes traced earth's full curve through shadows hush and lines true bend, near without flaw. Erophilus unveiled flesh's secret rivers in groundbreaking light. Aristarchus whispered sun's still heart amid wheeling stars. Ages ere. Another voice. The library hoarded not wisdom alone. It birthed it anew, breath by breath. Daily rites echoed, pursuit. Seekers broke bread as one, words weaving free. Tomes copied not for hold alone, but union deep with soul's own pulse. Debate stretched hour to day, yielding no thought, till torn gentle and woven fresh. Order, spark, passion's quiet flame drove it all. The library breathed as mind unbound, single hearth pondering for humanity's endless span. Yet light so gathered wove peril faint, for each birth of wonder. Shadows stirred beyond stone's calm ward. Soon history's hand would steer a door. To touch the library of Alexandria's heart, trace first the city that breathed its life, no mere harbour or throne's seat. Deliberate weave of world's distant threads, born of Alexander's conquering gaze, shaped by Ptolemy's patient hand. It blended Hellas' clear reason with Egypt's river-born rite, Persia's starlit scrolls, Judea's sacred breath, Africa's trade-wound paths, sailors' restless hum from Mediterranean's every shadowed arm. Fisher stepped past sage in dawn's soft light. Temple chant wove with numbers cutting edge. Wisdom flowed abundant as sea's endless sigh. The library crowned this living dream. As Alexandria gleamed beacon far, souls drew in endless tide. Merchants of wealth loosed hands for distant quests. Heralds afar bore parchments as peace's quiet bond. Thinkers fleeing wars, veil or throne's sharp turn, found shelter 'neath colonnades serene. Lanes hummed with voices from Cyrene's glow. Syria's spice, Judea's hill, Indu's distant vale, Macedon's ancient fire. Alexandria shunned not earth's manifold face, it cradled it deep, lifeblood true. This haven of many supercharged the library's tranquil pulse. A seeker might step beyond marble's hush into living forge of tongues and rite, markets spilled goods and tales from realms unseen, harbour hands called in flows manifold, slang woven from half-earth's known breath. Temples bore, carvings whispering elder secrets. For minds, in quiet labor, paradise unfolded. Raw whispers arrived with trader's step. On voice graceful bow, wondrous dust fell tale. The museum breathed it. Full study's hearth, learning's cradle, sanctuary soft, seekers dwelled within. Shared meal by lamplight, voices rising till Pharos beam faded aura waves. Sanctuary thrived on thought's boundless weave, proving sparks grow keen when met by shadow's touch. Helene's measure honed by Nile's ancient line. Judean scroll weighed 'gainst Babylon's faded chronicle. Healers parted beasts' quiet form, while sages pondered souls' veiled dance in courtyard hush. This melting of minds made Alexandria seem woven eternal. Brilliance's hoard a shield 'gainst ward's rough hand. For a breath, it held true. Yet beyond walls a gleam, realms turned slow. Envious whispered faint blades, honed keen in shadowed forge. Alexandria dreamed above phrase reach, too vital to flame, to sage, to fade. Yet time bends not to pride's quiet claim. While library bloomed an age of gold, hands gathering beyond sea's far veil. For is long, Alexandria's library dwelt in haven of thought's pure dream, shielded by king's steady gaze, hailed by seekers afar, fed by Egypt's river-born wealth. Yet ancient earth knew no endless peace. Day came when light met empire's unyielding wheel, spark-born far from Nile's embrace. Frey, Julius Caesar, and Pompey the Great. Pompey sought shelter in Egypt's shadowed grace, realm he deemed bound by ancient vow. Yet Ptolemy the 13's watchers, hungering Caesar's nod, loosed blade on Pompey, offering severed gaze as tribute grim. Caesar, stirred to chill and scorn by such shadowed gift, strode into Alexandria in 48 BCE, seeking order's calm hand. Instead, throne's kin frayed deep. Cleopatra the 7th claiming crown's fire, city simmering soft with unrest. Veiled Alexandria, scholar's tranquil cradle, turned field of shadowed clash. Library lingered perilously near, harbor's breath touching stone, heart of storm woven close. Caesar held royal quarter firm, warding 'gainst Ptolemy's faithful tide. Streets knew battles, hush. Engines of siege rose slow. Amid veil of tumult, unthinkable stirred. Flames danced through docks and shadowed stores. Ancient voices weave differing breath on fire's reach. Yet truth echoes still, scrolls yielded to ash. Some whispered warehouses bore tens of thousands, tomes awaiting library's gentle claim. Others mark fires touching outer vaults, linked near how shadows fell, matters faint, wound carved deep. First scar on Alexandria's endless memory. Picture seeker on marble steps, gaze held to smoke, rising o'er harbor's sigh, heart heavy with wisdom's fading breath. No mere leaves lost. Arches of labor, verses dreaming flow, maps of star and sea, healing's patient arts, chronicles woven true, dramas of human heart, theories born of quiet night gone beyond recall. Caesar claimed Alexandrian fray with Cleopatra at side serene, yet library bore toll grave. First lesson whispered, thoughts yield to flame, greatest hoard of souls, light frail 'gainst men's sword-born will. Sanctuary endured, yet changed in hush. Shadow lingered soft, herald of sorrows veiled to come. After Caesar's shadowed war and Cleopatra's rise like dawn o'er a Nile, Library of Alexandria breathed on. Yet golden span faded no single fall shattered it. Slow waning wove through ages, chipped by hands subtler than fire's grasp. World turned vast, realms shifted soft. Ptolemy's no longer kin to boundless thirst for leaf and line. Engine of mind that lit Alexandria through centuries hummed still, yet faltered faint with each turning generation. First shadow, realms hidden fray. Cleopatra's bonds with Rome Caesar's fire. Then Antony's deep vow drew Egypt to empire's wary gaze. defeat at Octavian's hand. Soon Augustus crowned, bound Alexandria in Roman weave. Rome hailed Hellas light, yet craved knowledge bent to throne's need. Funds for museum and library flowed uneven. Gifts to seekers dwindled soft. Vibrant hearth shrank not in blaze, but quiet turning from care. Rivalry rose next. Rome's reach swelled cultural flames afar. Pergamum's halls, Athens' ancient glow. Later Rome's own vaults rivaled steady. Seekers once drawn soul to Egypt found paths nearer hearth or steadier soil. Library shone no lone star, one light amid gathering gleam. Faith's tides turned deeper still. Alexandria wove not cultures alone, but thoughts, manifold breath. Judaism's sacred fire, Christ's gentle call, Egypt's elder rites. Hellas' veiled gods coexisted in hush uneasy. Discourse of mind softened to creed's stern edge. Neutron cradle of Spag found itself bound in phrase, unborn to its gentle weave. Wisdom, once hailed for its boundless weave, turned shadowed if it clashed with heaven-s, whispered creed or realm-s, unfolding tale. Even Alexandria's daily breath shifted soft. Pressures of coins strained the haven's frame. Earth's deep tremors scarred marble hush. Trade's ancient paths wandered new. The library, craving endless copy and tender ward to endure, faltered in once quiet grasp. Papyrus softened to dust's sigh. Scrolls lingered unrepaired, vulnerable to time's patient hand. Whole gatherings yielded to fade. Yet through waning's veil, souls labored still to cradle what remained. Seekers penned fresh breath. Teachers' voices rose in lectures calm. The library stood as beacon faint of humanity's reach. Even as world dimmed around its glow, Alexandria's sorrow breathed not in sudden fall. It wove in gentle fading, greatest cradle of minds. Gifts, worn slow not by foe's single strike, but tides, turning through centuries, hushed. By Rome's firm hold upon Egypt's Nile-born grace, the library lingered, weakened yet unbowed. No lone blaze, as Thales later whispered, but wounds dealt soft over ages long. Each chipped steady, till no echo lingered true. Sorrow, not in death once, but manyfold. One deep scar, long after Caesar's shadowed flame stirred in Emperor Aurelian's turn. 3rd century's veiled breath, reclaiming Alexandria from Zenobia's rebel hand. His arms tore through Bruchian's quiet heart. Very quarter where library and museum once breathed serene. Ancient voices mark Bruchian's hush, words heavy as stone fallen. Even if Kor endured prior storms, hard to dream it whole 'gainst war's unyielding tide. Scrolls yield not to rams, deep thunder, yet Alexandria cradled lesser havens still. Serapeum chief among temples weave holding remnants vast of library's faded light. This sanctuary bloomed final refuge for mind's ancient flame. 4 spans it held serene. Seekers lectured within marble's hush. Youths copied leaves with patient hand. Serapeum matched not original splendor, yet carried spirit deep. Then faith's landscape turned once more. Christianity's gentle tide swelled through empire's breath. Alexandria fraying twixt visions manifold. Tumults rose soft, creeds clashed in shadowed hall, unrest veiled in violence's sigh. In 391 CE, beneath Theodosius' steady gaze, elder temples fell to decree's calm word. Serapeum, both right's cradle and wisdom's vault, drew shadow near. Thales, weave differing breath, unfolds true form. Yet end echoes clear. Serapeum stilled, scrolls scattered, or lost to hush, with its faded last stone-born echo of library's light. Yet end breathed not absolute. Hypatia, mathematician of Alexandria's final glow, taught through 5th century's dawn, her shadowed fall by mob's stern hand marked deeper than one soul's veil. Flame of inquiry dimmed eternal, after a breath stilled, city claimed no throne. Esmine's quiet capital, when dust settled gentle, ages of flame, fray. Zeal's unyielding edge, neglect's patienter erased the library not in night's legendary hush, but fragment by fragment till silence cradled what once pulsed humanity's endless heart. When final embers softened the low halls of Alexandria's library fell to tranquil quiet, world grasped not full measure of loss. Ancient seats had flamed before, temples yielded to time. Realms crumbled faint, yet no ruin bore echo quite such. Library stood no mere stone and beam, memory's vast cradle for all souls woven. Its fading stole chapters whole from human tale. Cruelest whisper we trace not full scope of vanished breath. Archive lost yields list of loss itself. Historians ponder soft. Dramas of Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides uncopied elsewhere. Schools of thought, lingering in fragments faint. Echoes, second-hand. Tones of science from Babylon's starlit veil, Persia's ancient glow. Egypt's river-born grace might have lit numbers. Heaven's centuries ere. Healing drawn from parted form, forbidden later in right's stern hold. Chronicles vast Phoenicians' sea-worn path. Carthage's shadowed rise. North Africa's desert hum now mere murmurs in wind. Library hoarded not leaves alone. Possibilities boundless, yet tale holds light amid shadow. Fragments slipped free. Works turned in Alexandria's halls found breath anew in Islam's golden weave. Copied tender, from Baghdad's luminous core to Cordoba's tranquil night. Hellas thought, ordered deep in marble hush, kindled Renaissance's dawning fire. Even dream of vault universal, cradle where earth's manifold wisdom rests woven, endured. Torch passed gentle from age to age, whispering memory power's quiet root. Deeper still lingered library's mythic hush. Ages turned, poets, sages, chroniclers hailed it in AWSA's soft breath. Silent, though fallen, symbol bloomed of soul's reach. What blooms when realms prize learning o'er a blade, wonder o'er a realm's conquest. Tales stirred hands of earth diggers, scribes of dream, wanderers of night, to envision world where wisdom flows, unbound cross vale and shore. Yet fall warns gentle knowledge, frail as dawn mist. Sparks crave ward's steady hand. Vaults of stone yield swift as souls who guard them. Alexandria's hush recalls progress, bends not, assured. Light of knowing must breathed guarded. Generation unto generation. Greatest hoard humanity wove endured, not full, yet longing to raise anew. Gather wisdom, tender, cradle it safe, share free breaths eternal. Thus Library of Alexandria fades not wholly. Still penned in hush, unfolding in medieval hush, few woes stirred dread, veil of unknowing, despair's quiet veil, as leprosy's shadowed touch. To realms it whispered, sent and grim, exile from kin's warm hold, hearth's gathered light, very breath of human weave, yet order of St. Lazarus, famed leper knights, turned fate's serene, not cast to shadow's edge, or erased from day's soft glow, gathered close, bound in writer, armed with purpose blending heaven's call, healing's tender grace, courage veiled in martial calm, green cross stitched upon cloaks wove emblem deep, sufferings mark entwined with sacred light, souls walking death's near path yet unbowed, most borne by scourge new isolation's chill, hospitals faint beyond walled hush, towns far rim on alms and prayer alone, yet those drawn to order-found path, unbound, brotherhood's steady embrace. Decay shunned as soul breath, discipline claimed the soul, shunned no more. Welcomed midkin who knew hardships, intimate veil, passive veil lifted. Training met them gentle or firm, guarding pilgrims' sacred tread. Fortresses where affliction rooted deep in holy soil. Rite of welcome mirrored dual breath. New brother stood before altar's glow. Truth unveiled, illness weaving change through form. Order hid not, leprosy breathed no rumor here, but shared dawn, confessed not soul's hidden shadow, but flesh's quiet fear, pain's coming grasp, rejection's sting, decline's inevitable sigh. Priests held ear tender, anointed with oil hallowed, no mend of body promised, but blessing for spirit's enduring flame. Healing gaze meant soul's quiet steel, not frame restored whole. From their green cross claimed the breasts, right hushed, near monkish come. No splendor grand, no call of horn, solemn cloth laid upon one, knowing life's veil, thin beyond most. Moment wove change, profound, not easing ache, but cradling it new. Cross, denied, not scourge's hold. Sanctified the stand against it. These souls, new spans brief, hands oft lost sense too. Touch, skin palling faint, in patches veiled, yet in St. Lazarus' gentle weave, dignity bloomed serene, purpose clear as dawn, freedom strange and deep. Freedom cradled by souls, bearing nothing left to dread. For leper nights, rites of cleansing wove, no hollow echo, kept for custom's quiet sake. Necessity breathed through every dawn. Survival's patient thread entwined with daily hush. Bodies shifted slow and aching, paths unseen and winding deep. Thus their gatherings of purity held grace twofold. Spirit steadied for heaven's gaze, flesh tended with healer's measured calm. Each morning, ere prayer's soft call or arm's steady field, brothers drew to courtyards, stone, hush, basins carved deep for washing of the scourge. No sacred flow of baptism's veil, no mere care of skin's daily ward. Solemn bow to war, veiled beneath flesh's fading sigh. Water lifted from wells, lined with lime's pale hold. Blessed tender by chaplain's murmured breath, blended herbs crushed fine, salt coarse as earth's unyielding grit. Healers within, order many marked by affliction's own hand held these mixtures, stayed infections, quiet creep. Truth of science, weighed faint, sensation claimed the deeper call. Chill's keen kiss on limbs, grown numb and distant. Salt's sharp bite in wounds that lingered unclosed, faint rise of rosemary's earth, myrrh's sacred hush weaving into morning's tranquil veil. Every touch whispered clear, frames may yield gentle to time's weave. Spirits held vigilant and true, air basins welcomed, each voiced vows simple and worn. Let flesh soften slow, resolve stand unbowed. No leaf of elder scripture, mere pledge tended brother to brother through shadowed spans. Order cradled it, dearer than rites, formal flow. As waters moved soft, chaplain paced edge serene. Blessings breathed for endurance's flame, courage veiled deep, mind's light unclouded calm. No wonders wrought in splendor grand. Healing none sought or dreamed, right gifted stillness profound. Balm born of heart's even breath. Washing yielded then to anointing's tender grace. Salve thin of oil warm, resin steady hold, laid by nightly palm. 2 hands, feet, faces scarred, one bearing wounds, shuddered mark, Aidinkin wove bond beyond phrase, iron vow. Touching scars sundered isolation's heavy chain, curse haunting lepers through medieval hush. Here outcasts breathe no more. Comrades bound in sorrow's shared embrace. Puttified twos, limbs dried on linen plain and worn. Garb drawn slow with care for skin, tender grown, scents faded to whisper faint. Chapel cooled then for dawn's prayer, hush. Green crosses, catching light through panes of glass stains soft with heaven's hue. Cleansing mended not the frame, known eternal in truth, yet heart found anchor steady. 4 men with death's murmur ever softed back, pulse and yielding miracle woven serene. Each evening, as sun slipped beyond ramparts watchful stone, shadows drawing long o'er leprosarium's courtyard calm. Leper knights gathered for rite, claiming order deeper than blade's solemn oath. Vigil of green cross, unlike dawn's ward of fleshly trial. Vigil touched scars unseen. Fear's quiet hold, loneliness veiled sigh, sorrow profound of form yielding inch by measured inch. Beneath lamps flickered gentle, night's cool breath, drifting soft. Brother sought not release from woe, but steeled, cradled its endless turn. Vigil unfolded in silence, pure and deep. Knights entered chapel one by one. Steps wait slow and true, some leaning gentle on staffs carved with care, others guided by palms, yet holding sense alive. Chapel dimmed to tranquil hush, candles few alone, flames weaving dance, soft 'gainst walls of ancient stone. Heart-held cross-wooden plane, painted green, humble not gold's radiant gleam. Silver's chill light, but herbs healing shade, hope's enduring veil. Green cross recalled healing manifold in form, cure oft acceptance's patient grace, all gathered close. Chaplain voiced prayer. First, we crave not wholeness, returned, steadfastness alone. Words soft, unyielding as stone, echoed chapel's sacred hush. Rejection, clear of pity's heavy cloak, nights sought, no miracles unveiled. Dignity profound, mind's veil lifted clear. Grace to greet dawn, though frames soft, slow. Strength whispered for gentleness held, bitterness shunned, oaths cradled true through ache unending. Prayer woven, as one yielded to candle's quiet gift. Each stepped near serene. Wax taper small laid at crosses base.com. Some cradled tender with hands scarred deep, others steadied both palms firm and sure. Gesture bore burden personal, yielded not, vanished. Shared mid brothers true and bound. Candles rising soft, green cross bathed in halo warm and glowing faint. Then chant stirred low. Rhythm near monkish calm, filling chapel heartbeats steady deep. Voices night-worn by affliction's hush, yet resolve woven firm, blended hum, continuous pure. Moments brief and sacred. Limbs hidden ache, nerves numb veil, morrow's shadowed dread faded neath sound's unity profound. Vigil stilled, as gently born. Nights departed, carrying no mend of flesh, but sustenance deeper still. Peace tranquil as dawn, acceptance cradled soft, knowing sorrow born not solitary in night. Lepanites dwelled paradox, serene and deep. Warriors whose frames yielded gradual, 2 times quiet call. Discipline firm, unbreaking, purpose clear as starlight claimed, heart's core true. Though few knew battle's full thunder as orders kin, training met them steadfast, not for triumph's fleeting grasp, but dignity's eternal flame. 2 brothers of St. Lazarus, arms right, declared affliction claimed, not spirit's light, though flesh it took slow and sure. Practice stirred, mid-afternoon. Hush, sun's fierce heat, softened breath. Courtyard echoed wood swords' muted rings soft and steady. Some gripped hilts, thickened for fingers, numb, faint. Others traced towards, patient ants, footwork, firm 'gainst, nerves weakened sigh. Each motion cradled calm and true. Each blow parley gentle with ache, veiled deep. Mockery shunned for frailty, shared by all. Triumphs, small hailed as gold. Parry clean and sure. Stance, unyielding calm. Strengths, spark in hands trembling moments past. Guides elder, bearing scourged decades woven deep. New paths to lead with grace. Posture mended, soft and sure. Counsel shaped to woe's tender stage. Joints yielding prone marked clear. Sinews answering yet, ways bent, gentle for frame marred true. Beyond blade's steady hold, forms coordinated bloomed. Bands small moved as one breath. Not souls adrift alone. Not tactic lone and cold. Shelter profound and warm. Vision softening paired with sight, keen still. Legs faltering marched, mid-stride firm and true. Each bore keen's shadow faint with care. Unity wove strength eternal. Yard of arms cradled trial of heart profound. Frustration, ire, soft, grief veiled. Met tasks, once flowing free as wind. Rights craved endurance pure, not flawlessness. Dreamed. Swords measured arc reaffirmed will to breathe with purpose clear. Session closed, serene. Practice, arms, laid, rack, wooden, single, and still. Gesture final bound burdens, shared. Resilience woven deep. Warriors not by fray claimed grant, by stand unending 'gainst affliction's hush, despair's quiet veil, body's slow fading sigh. Discipline shunned, not might alone. Defiance breathed its sacred core. In order's medieval woven most, meal's hour, simple breath. Body's fuel, tender air labor's call. Prayer's tranquil hush. For leper nights, board shared wove right. Sacred, profound, blending earth's steady need. Mercy, soft, equality deep as sea. Many faltered swallowing slow and pained. Taste faded to whisper faint. hand scarred lifting morsel plain, feeding recalled march, relentless of shadow slow, order turned moment to grace gentler still. Dignity's veil profound, mercy wrought daily in hush serene, bell soft and silver, call beginning calm. Brothers entered refectory pace-own and measured, some halting gentle on paths worn, staffs leaned with care, others guided by arms sense lost to veil. Tables, long of wood-framed square serene, every gaze meeting kins true and warm, none veiled in shadow deep, none fed solitary in night. Chaplain bless brief and pure, not mend of frame craved, patin selled, thanks breathed soft. Let this fair steel unharmed within our depths recall gentle and true, spirits nourished profound, frames aside in hush, fair plain yet cradled with mind as tender craft, broths rich with herb-est healing, sigh-soothed throats, aflame soft, bread yielding, oil-dipped, spared chews heavy call, waters sweetened honey faint, eased ache deep and sure, hands stiffened firm served by brothers near and true. Honor deemed this path, not burden's shadowed weight, feeding kin scourge-worn affirmed humanity's light, eternal, world oft deeming untouched in fear's cold grasp, refectory breathed, nonus radical serene, as morsels shared in quiet grace, room wove conversation, hushed and warm. Some pondered scripture's ancient flow, paths of thought, profound and deep. Some spoke of kin now distant or veiled in memory's hut. A few wove shadowed mirth on affliction's quiet mark. Balm as ancient as woe's first breath, laughter bloomed rare, yet cradled deep, echoing strange through hall's stone calm, spark holding firm gainst wind's soft sigh. At meals gentle close, each night laid wooden bowl to basin warm with water still. Gesture wove purity not of palm alone, but sorrow's hidden veil. None stirred from board till slowest hand found rest complete. Order shunned isolation's cruel grasp, every brother, woe's depth unmeasured, wove into rhythm shared and true. In these gatherings of bread and broth, leper nights forged resistance quiet, unyielding as stone. World marked them for shadow's end, yet within walls serene, dignity tasted spoonful by tender spoonful. When night's tranquil veil settled o'er leprosarium's hush, most brothers cradled sleep's gentle hold. A few lingered wakeful for order's solemn ward. Most profound night watch serene, no sentinel gins its foes, armed tread in common right. No hosts poised beyond stone's calm, watch cradled fragile breath beyond land's claim. Lives fading soft, fears whispered low. Final moments of frames yielding slow to betrayal deep within. For leper nights, vigil through dark honored ache, with presence pure, not blade's cold gleam. What stirred, soon after prayers, last hush. 3 chosen each eve. Turn shared that burden weighed not heavy on one soul alone. Cloaks heavy drawn close not gainst, chill's faint kiss. Sense oft lost to numb veil, but skin marred shielded from night's wandering air. Lenten soft, staff wooden, carved true, pouch small of herbs. 2 soothed cries rising in shadowed pain granted each. Rounds wove through corridors stone-lined long, beds simple cradling rest. Some slumbered deep in peace's arms, others stirred restless. Murmurs fever-born in dreams faint weave. Watchers moved silent as mist, pausing each pallet to trace breath's steady rise. Blankets drawn tender, salves dabbed to skin cracked deep. Prayers breathed soft, 2 ears to frail for answer. Gestures small wove vast in night, kindness is cherished, deeper than phrased triumphant call. Beyond quarter's hush lay garden path, where watchers wandered mind's clear veil. Lantern glow, soft-lit mint's quiet leaf. Sage's healing, hush, plants for sores tender mend. Infections creeping stay, spirits weariness, clinging shadow-like. Here, pauses lingered calm. Breeze cool, settling gentle round. Some weighed fear own in silence, pure. Symptoms deepening soft. Sight's fading veil, becoming next whose breath surged vain. Night's close touched, chapel serene. Green cross, bathed faint in moon's silver breath, through panes, stained with heaven's hue. Watchers knelt hush prayers not for alms might, But service quiet endured through endless turn, sword swing flowed easy and light, witnessed ache night upon shadowed night, unturning gaze deeper trial, profound. By dawn's first hush, watchers sought beds weary yet heart-filled true, duty shunned hero's grand tale. Humble, steady, human deep, as earth's own core, world fearing them. Leper knights chose shelterkin from loneliness cold grasp. Among leper knights, death breathed, no stranger unbidden. Companion constant, ever near, order yielded, not unheeded or unprepared. When brothers' woe deepened beyond men's faint hope, numbness creeping vast, fever hollowing gaze, community wove right, intimate, profound, rite of fading serene. No burial's shadowed call, no final soul's unveiling. Ceremony dignities, grace for souls, stripped all save courage's unyielding flame through final spans. Right stirred hush at dusk's soft veil. Brother sensing ends near breath sought right gentle, or chaplain chose with care profound. Chosen washed final tender, not dawn's brisk ward, but reverent slow as time's own flow. Water warm, herb mingled, poured o'er palms, face, feet scarred. Though sense fled distant, vow breathed clear. Unseen thou shalt not leave this shadowed world. Washed pure, tunic clean drawn, green thread faint woven through, hues bright shun.com. Humility guided every fold, serene, green, subtle, yet true, marked bond to St. Lazarus eternal, even death's quiet door. Clad thus, led oft by brothers two, in steady hold to chapel hush, circle knights, awaiting calm, rite of fading shunned, sermon grond, chaplain bid fading voice, if heart called. Memory's fray fought air, woe claimed, sinew strong. Kin left a veil, regrets whispered soft. Peace found mid souls knowing ache deep. Many closed eyes serene, content ringed by brothers' voices warm. Then hands laid gentle profound. One by one knight stepped near, palm scarred or trembling soft upon shoulder fading true. Moments wob saminoniscas pon share return. Touch proclaimed unity final. Recall he belonged woven, they to him profound. Prayer closed, hush, my arches cease. Hentlik courage linger hours eternal. Faden brother guided bedward then. Final hours or days cradled silent by love's unspoken deep. 4 leper nights, right insured threshold crossed, not solitary. World long turned from them cold. Yet they held kin, unyielding true. For warriors medieval most, marched affray weighed survival's veiled chance. For leper nights, count differed profound. They strode, knowing death dwelled within already, creeping hushed beneath skin's fading veil. Certainty wove courage strange, near unearthly calm. Souls embracing end, feared not its call on field of arms. Thus when St. Lazarus' order rode to combatrer, moments, desperate deep they, bore presence, unnerving even hardened hearts. Affliction shaped all right ere march, blessing of failing flesh, unique wove. Each stood chaplain before serene. Green cross traced small o'er limbs, weakened, soft. Palms, numb, distant. Joints, swollen, hush. Eyes, clouding faint. Blessing bowed to truth all held. Frames, fragile. Paths, unseen. Ache oft, unyielding. Yet service capable, still profound. Armor light woven, not fear's faint cloak, but need's steady call. Mail heavy crushed nerves waning sigh. Layers cloth leather bound. Plates metalled calm, offered ward less, yet breath free. Motion unhindered, strain endured true. Weapons plain, swords, maces grips, thick wound for sense, fading soft. Limits born. Leper knights strove relentless, calm profound. Ranks oft heart or rear claimed where discipline shone deeper than might raw. Wounded sheltered, supply paths warded. Chapels, hospitals held gainst, shadows tied. Desperation deepening, advanced not youth's wild fire. Resolve Khmer, otherworld serene. Foes oft paused blade midair. Whispers spread field wide, afflicted marked. Death chosen, heaven's own, cursed unbound, fearless deep, half-elled already, leper knights, shunned, pity, superstitions hush alike. Fray met for oath's sacred call, refusal definition, by woe's heavy chain. For many, field granted forgetfulness rare, disease veiled brief in purpose, pure, march closed air, triumph foreshadow, brothers gathered, prayer final hush, not glory dreamed, span long craved, but steel to face, remainder calm, dawn another, fray renewed, death's quiet step, when medieval hush turned vast, crusader seats fell gentle, healing's new breath rose, leper havens emptied slow, St. Lazarus' order faced query rare profound, what weaves for brotherhood dying born when world strides onward? Come, leper knights faded not. In splendor's fall dramatic, like brother's own, gradual, serene, quiet, deep, legacy spirit woven, o'er arms stern call, Wayne stirred as leprosy's tendings bloomed, isolation's laws softened hush. Fewer sought refuge, shadowed. Castles, hospitals once solemn with nights woe-marked stood sparse and still, yet numbers waning, rites endured manuscript and memory tender. Washing scourge's veil, vigil green cross, serene, night watch profound, rite fading calm preserved pure, monks copied liturgies, hushed, healers tressed practices medical keen, knowing nights untrained by hall, yet soothed ache with sight remarkable deep. Enduring deepest, stanced 'gainst woe profound. Leper knights wove culture, were afflicted shunned not, feared faint, honored true serene. Isolation turned brotherhood warm, agony empathies, gentle veil, despair disciplines, unyielding flame. Mark left on charity medieval soft, hospitals later cradled meals shared hush, vigils kin bound, life's end tended profound, hearts softened age, oft stern to frail. Arms gifts, limited need-born legend, breathed. Chroniclers penned, souls marching fearless. Green crosses glowing 'gainst skin pale hush. Warriors shielding havens, fiercer than castles stone. Order courage born not might, acceptance woven eternal. Knight St. Lazarus breathed symbol endurance profound, not conquest's fleeting gleam. Ages later, order turned anew. Charity's hearth, hospital's calm aura, afflicted brotherhood stern, yet elder spirit lingered. Humility deep, solidarity true, refusal suffering dim dignity's light. Today, leper knights echo tale, manuscript faded, arms coats chapel old, preserved serene, bravery, quiet, resonates still profound. Recall courage blooms, not triumph, realms grasp alone, oft endurance pure, stand-woven when world steps fear veiled back, frames yielded them gentle, legacy breathed eternal.